Brooklyn Beckham didn't just drift away from his famous family, he stepped right into a whole new universe. A world dripping in billionaire money, private islands so exclusive they don't even show up on maps, and bottles of wine that cost more than most people's cars. It's a life that quietly overshadows even the mighty Beckham name. And at the core of it all stands Nicola Peltz, calm, confident, and surrounded by luxury beyond imagination. While everyone's been fixated on the emotional statements, wedding drama, and the awkward silence between families, the truth hiding underneath all that gossip feels way more intense. This isn't just about who said what, it's about power, money, and control. And the real question is, who's really calling the shots here? Nicola Peltz didn't just marry into fame, she was born into a financial empire. Her father, Nelson Peltz, is a billionaire investor with decades of experience flipping companies and shaping boardrooms with his influence. This isn't the flashy kind of celebrity wealth we're used to seeing on red carpets. This is deep-pocket, old-school money, the kind that moves markets and buys decisions at 30,000 feet on private jets. And since saying "I do" to Nicola, Brooklyn's been fully immersed in that world. Just recently, headlines went wild with claims that Nicola receives a jaw-dropping $1 million monthly allowance from her dad. Sure, people close to the Peltz family have tried to downplay that jaw-dropping number, but one thing isn't up for debate. Nicola has access to money, freedom, and influence that most people, even A-list stars, can't even dream of touching. Her world runs on luxury most of us only see in movies, and her lifestyle screams it loud and clear. Not long ago, Brooklyn and Nicola were spotted tucked away in one of California's most exclusive five-star hideouts, a secret sanctuary where royalty, Hollywood legends, and political heavyweights come to disappear. It's the kind of place where privacy costs a fortune, and they fit right in. During that stay, Brooklyn casually dropped a few photos that sent the internet into meltdown. Sitting right there on the table, a bottle of wine so rare it's worth tens of thousands of dollars, one of the most expensive ever made. This wasn't just showing off, it was a statement. The two of them looked completely at ease, wrapped up in their own little world, sipping rare wine like it was nothing, strolling through perfectly manicured gardens, and posting snapshots of pure, effortless luxury. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, David and Victoria Beckham were busy putting on a polished, united front of their own. That contrast, it says everything. The Beckhams built their fortune the hard way, through non-stop hustle, clever branding, global fame, and total image control. Their empire is shiny, public, and meticulously managed. The Peltz money, though, it runs deep, quiet, and doesn't care about public approval. That's what makes this feud so explosive, the clash of two worlds built on very different kinds of power. For years, David and Victoria Beckham have stood firm on one rule when it comes to raising their kids: independence has to be earned. Brooklyn always had their support, but that didn't mean a blank check or endless funding. The plan was simple. One day he'd step out of his parents' shadow, build his own legacy, and make his own name shine.
But Nicola's world? It runs on a totally different code. In the Peltz family, wealth isn't something you chase, it's something you're born into. Generational money is meant to shield, empower, and make life effortless. Nicola's normal meant growing up with private jets on standby, vacations on mega yachts, closets stacked with couture, and five-star getaways as just another weekend plan. None of it was a luxury, it was routine. Ever since Brooklyn tied the knot with her, his whole day-to-day is flipped upside down. The couple now lives in a jaw-dropping multi-million-dollar mansion in Beverly Hills, hop between global hotspots without blinking at the cost, and spend summers lounging on super yachts like it's second nature. Nicola steps out in handbags worth more than most people's cars, and the whole vibe isn't about showing off, it's about being completely untouchable. And that's exactly where things start to heat up. Behind the perfect photos and calm smiles, whispers say Victoria Beckham's been quietly holding on to text messages that could change everything. Messages that allegedly dig into the wedding chaos, the infamous dress drama, and the growing distance between Brooklyn and his family. Insiders claim Victoria hasn't released them, but just knowing they exist keeps everyone on edge. It's not that Victoria can't expose those messages, it's that deep down she's still holding on to hope that her son will find his way back home. That small detail says everything. While Brooklyn has openly aired his frustrations and stepped into the spotlight with his side of the story, David and Victoria have chosen silence. No interviews, no fiery statements, no cryptic posts online. But make no mistake, that silence isn't weakness, it's control. Their quiet stance speaks volumes. Insiders close to the Beckhams say something much deeper is happening behind the scenes, a private effort to reach their son, but without bending their principles. Away from the cameras, David and Victoria are said to be heartbroken, struggling to understand how quickly Brooklyn's world flipped upside down. The family that once seemed inseparable now feels split by money, influence, and trust. Sources whisper that the Beckhams still believe there's a way back, but only if Nicola steps out of the picture. And that's where everything shatters. Brooklyn has drawn a firm line. He sees Nicola not as a wedge, but as his savior. He said that she's the one who gave him calm after years of pressure and anxiety. From his view, walking away from the family wasn't rebellion, it was relief. But from the Beckham side, things look painfully different. To them, it seems like their son has slipped into a world they can't reach, a world where he's financially untouchable, emotionally wrapped up, and surrounded by a dynasty whose fortune outshines their own. The balance of power has shifted completely, and this time, it's not in the Beckhams' favor. Right now, Brooklyn and Nicola are putting on a show of calm confidence, like nothing can touch them. Every photo tells the same story: sun-soaked vacations, romantic captions, designer outfits, and smiles framed by pure luxury. Each post feels like a quiet message to the world. We're good, we're in love, we don't need anyone else, not even the Beckhams.
But there's a bigger question hiding behind all that perfection. Is this really a story of love and independence, or is Brooklyn slowly getting pulled into a world so drenched in money that he no longer needs reconciliation at all? And if the Beckhams truly believe Nicola is the force behind this family divide, how long can Victoria keep those rumored messages buried before everything blows up even more? The tension keeps rising because money doesn't just change lifestyles, it changes power. Brooklyn isn't the same young man trying to prove himself anymore. He's now part of a dynasty where financial comfort is endless, where private jets, mega yachts, and luxury estates are just background noise. That shift changes everything behind closed doors. The family dynamics, the emotions, even the power to negotiate. It all gets rewritten when one side no longer has anything to lose. And with talk still swirling about Nicola's alleged $1 million monthly allowance, the question isn't just about love anymore. It's about control, and who really holds it now? The reaction wasn't just mild curiosity, it was shockwaves. Reports say the news sent tremors through both the Beckham and Peltz families. Sure, insiders from the Peltz side have downplayed the exact number, but that's not the point. The symbolism hit harder than any headline. The message came through loud and clear. Nicola doesn't rely on Brooklyn, and Brooklyn doesn't rely on the Beckhams anymore. That flips the entire family power dynamic on its head. For years, David and Victoria Beckham were the heartbeat of their family, the ones who controlled the narrative, the image, and the opportunities. Their children grew up inside the glow of a global brand where every door opened because of that name. But now, Brooklyn stands completely outside that system, cushioned by an empire that existed long before social media followers or endorsement deals. And according to insiders, that's where the deepest fracture sits. Brooklyn calls it emotional freedom, a way to breathe without pressure, but those close to the Beckhams reportedly see something much colder. They see distance fueled by comfort, a detachment wrapped in wealth. Because when money softens every fall, you don't fear the drop. And when your life doesn't change after a family fight, why bother rebuilding the bridge? Recent photos only made that divide more obvious. Brooklyn and Nicola, relaxed and glowing, sipping ultra-rare wine at a secret luxury resort, looked completely untouched by all the drama. And while the Beckhams were standing united in Paris, front row at fashion shows, side by side for the cameras, Brooklyn and Nicola were sending their own message. We're fine, we're free, and we're not coming back. Every photo looked too perfect to be spontaneous, every caption too polished to be random. Even the songs they picked in their posts seemed to whisper the same line over and over, "We're fine." But that's exactly what makes Victoria Beckham's silence so fascinating. Behind that calm exterior, sources say Victoria believes she knows the exact moment everything shifted and exactly who triggered it. Insiders claim Victoria suspects Nicola was the key player pushing Brooklyn to go public, to distance himself, and to control the story before anyone else had the chance. The texts Victoria said to be holding supposedly tell a very different version of events, a side that doesn't match the glossy, affectionate image the couple posts online. But here's the catch. She hasn't released a single one of them. Not yet.
That quiet restraint says everything. Because despite the rumors, the hurt, and the public embarrassment, David and Victoria are still acting from a place of love, not revenge. People close to them say they understand something crucial. Once certain lines are crossed in public, there's no going back. The damage becomes permanent, and reconciliation becomes nearly impossible. So, for now, Victoria keeps those messages locked away, sitting on evidence that could blow the whole situation wide open, but she's holding her fire. Her silence isn't weakness, it's strategy, and maybe, just maybe, it's her last hope to keep a door open for her son. Behind closed doors, one thing hasn't changed at all: the Beckham's line in the sand. Sources close to the family say David and Victoria would welcome Brooklyn home in a heartbeat, but not if Nicola's still part of the picture. That single condition exposes just how deep the mistrust now runs. It's not just tension anymore, it's full-on emotional divide. But Brooklyn's not budging. He's made his choice loud and clear. Nicola comes first. Emotionally, publicly, and even professionally, he's tied to her in every way that counts. And now the whispers are getting louder. Insiders claim Brooklyn's been quietly approached about something huge, a potential book deal. The rumored project would dive deep into his life story, his childhood inside the Beckham empire, his struggles with anxiety, and what really pushed him to walk away from the family brand. If that book becomes real, everything changes. It wouldn't just be another celebrity headline, it would lock his version of the story into history. For the Beckhams, that's terrifying, because once words are printed, there's no rewinding them. A book isn't just a confession, it's a weapon. It immortalizes one perspective and forces everyone else into defense mode. Meanwhile, people are watching Brooklyn's next career moves with raised eyebrows. Over the years, he's tried his hand at photography, cooking, publishing, even brand collabs, all while balancing on the weight of the Beckham name. But now, with the Peltz influence behind him, the question isn't what he'll do next, it's how far he's willing to go to define himself without his family. Since marrying Nicola, Brooklyn's whole identity has transformed. He's no longer chasing independence within the safety of his parents' framework. He's living comfortably inside his wife's world, and that small difference means everything. In the Beckham household, success was something you earned, built through sweat, control, and endless public scrutiny. But in the Peltz universe, success is something you inherit. It's protected, funded, and wrapped in layers of luxury that keep failure miles away. There's no pressure there, no race to prove worth, no desperate grind for validation. And that contrast cuts deep. Insiders say that's exactly why David and Victoria feel like they're slowly losing their son, not to rebellion, but to comfort. Meanwhile, Nicola's lifestyle keeps speaking louder than any interview or post ever could. We're talking designer closets that could rival boutiques, multi-million-dollar properties, and private getaways that scream exclusivity. Even when reports challenge certain figures, the images tell their own story. This isn't a couple tightening their belts or stepping back from extravagance. This is a couple embracing it all, unapologetically, and quietly stepping further away from the Beckham organ. That's what makes this feud so gripping. It's not just about drama, it's about imbalance. Two dynasties, two philosophies, one that believes success must be earned, and another that believes it should never be threatened. And caught in the middle is one son who's now firmly planted on one side. David and Victoria are still holding on to hope, believing that time will calm the chaos, that Brooklyn will eventually miss his siblings, that distance will fade into forgiveness. But with every golden-hued photo, every luxury vacation, every "we're happy" caption, that hope feels thinner, because reconciliation only happens when someone feels the ache of being gone. And right now, Brooklyn Beckham looks very comfortable, like he's found peace in a world built on privilege, not pressure. But here's the real question. Is this calm permanent, or just the silence before the next storm? Because as long as Victoria Beckham keeps those rumored messages locked away, and as long as Brooklyn keeps proving his freedom through distance, this story is far from over. And when it does erupt again, and you know it will, it won't be about weddings, guest lists, or first dances. It'll be about power, control, and the heartbreaking reality of who truly lost their son to a world they could never compete with. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment, because this feud is nowhere near finished, and you'll want to be here when the next chapter hits. Meanwhile, Nicola's lifestyle keeps speaking louder than any interview or post ever could. We're talking designer closets that could rival boutiques, multi-million-dollar properties, and private getaways that scream exclusivity. Even when reports challenge certain figures, the images tell their own story. This isn't a couple tightening their belts or stepping back from extravagance. This is a couple embracing it all, unapologetically, and quietly stepping further away from the Beckham organ. That's what makes this feud so gripping. It's not just about drama, it's about imbalance. Two dynasties, two philosophies, one that believes success must be earned, and another that believes it should never be threatened. And caught in the middle is one son who's now firmly planted on one side. David and Victoria are still holding on to hope, believing that time will calm the chaos, that Brooklyn will eventually miss his siblings, that distance will fade into forgiveness. But with every golden-hued photo, every luxury vacation, every "we're happy" caption, that hope feels thinner, because reconciliation only happens when someone feels the ache of being gone. And right now, Brooklyn Beckham looks very comfortable, like he's found peace in a world built on privilege, not pressure. But here's the real question. Is this calm permanent, or just the silence before the next storm? Because as long as Victoria Beckham keeps those rumored messages locked away, and as long as Brooklyn keeps proving his freedom through distance, this story is far from over. And when it does erupt again, and you know it will, it won't be about weddings, guest lists, or first dances. It'll be about power, control, and the heartbreaking reality of who truly lost their son to a world they could never compete with. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment, because this feud is nowhere near finished, and you'll want to be here when the next chapter hits.